Hello everyone. I thought I'd start an introduction to cursive writing. So I'm going to teach you what I would teach, how I would teach my students how to write cursive in the classroom. But I'm not going to use the language that I may use with them because they are younger. So I'm just going to start with two vowels today, and we're starting with the vowels so that we can connect them to other letters in order to make words that we can write. And I'm using today my Parker Vector fountain pen. This is a blast from the past. This was one of the first fountain pens that I ever used, and I lost it, and now I've purchased another one. So the first thing that we're going to do is talk about the 2 o'clock letters. These are the loopy ones. And so if you imagine there's a clock, this is 2 o'clocks right here, right? There's 3, this is 6, and there's 9. So the reason these are called 2 o'clock letters is because they start down here at the red line or the base line, depending on what your system calls it. They're going to curve to the midline, pass it, and stop at 2 o'clock. And that's the first stroke that you need to learn. So you would do a couple, when I do this in the classroom, I have my students do this a few times, because the next part is the challenging part. We stop here and then we retrace what we drew, and we go back up to connect it and draw a straight line down to make an A. So an A is a 2 o'clock letter. And so in order to do that, we would start here at the baseline, curve around to 2 o'clock, retrace what we drew, connect, and draw a straight line down to the baseline with our connector. And that's the letter A. And then I would have my students draw a whole row of A's. Okay, and then they would draw a whole row of A's, and they would circle the best one that they thought. Okay? So A is a 2 o'clock letter. Another vowel is a 2 o'clock letter as well. It is the O. And I do these two together for a reason. So the O, we're going to start right down here at the baseline. I'm going to curve around to 2 o'clock. Same beginning move. We are then going to turn back around and connect. Now here's the difference between the A and the O. The O is going to make a little loop-de-loop right up here at the midline. And that's how we connect letters to O. So really, if you're looking at cursive writing, and for my students this is challenging, you have to look at where the connector is. So there's really only, between an A and an O, the only difference is where the connector line is, right? So that's important. So we have to learn these two first. So then we would do a whole row of O's, and we make a little loop-de-loo. I call that the Superman loop-de-loo, but you can call it whatever you like. It's a whole row of O's. Okay? And then you would circle the one that you like the most. Which one's the best? And then from here, we would add a couple other letters so that we could make some words. The letter C is also a 2 o'clock letter, and the C is basically half of an A. So you would start here at your baseline, curve around to 2 o'clock, come back down to the baseline, and then stop. We're not connecting. So that's the letter C. And so then you would go on to connect it. And again, you would do a whole row of C's. Okay. Now, we have 2 vowels and a consonant. Now I'm going to give you an up and down letter so that we can make some words. So the T is different. All you're going to do is start here at the baseline, shoot straight up till you're midway between the top line and the midline. And then come straight back down, and then cross your T. And you want to cross your T at the end of your word. So we're going to do the whole row of T's. Okay. T is actually not 2 stories tall, it's 1.5 stories tall. That's what I tell my students. So you would do a whole row of T's, circle the one that you like the most. And now we can make some words. We could write cat. C, A, T. So that we could then work on those connector pieces. Right? So we do a whole row of the word cat. C, A, T. Okay. And it becomes kind of meditative as you're doing it. C, A, T. For my students, saying the letter and writing it at the same time is beneficial. It may be beneficial to you. Do it if you feel it helps or not. So again, you write a whole row of cat. And then you could write cot. We're changing the middle. C, O, T. So here's the big difference when you're reading cursive is again this connector piece to the T, right? And this is very challenging for some of my students to get, is that way you're connecting right from the midline up into the T. Right, so we're going to go C, a little loop T, and right up to the T. See, like that, caught. Some of my students, what they want to do is they want to lift up their pen and then start again at the baseline, and that's not how our cursive system works in the States. There are many different names, so I'm not mentioning a specific one, but they all are similar in this fact that they all connect, because the point of cursive writing is that you don't have to keep stopping and lifting your pen, which makes it for a smoother and faster writing experience. Okay, so I hope that's helpful to you. Join me for more how-to cursive videos. If you liked it, please click the like and subscribe. And let me know what letters you'd like to see next.